The Jewish nation is not based on race. The Jewish nation is not based on ethnicity. The Jewish nation is based on culture and religion. The Bundist movement includes both religious and non-observant Jewry. The political position of the Jewish Bund is not anti-religious. The political position of the Jewish Bund is non-religious. The Jewish struggle is deeply connected to the Palestinian struggle. On December 19th of 2017, young Ahed Tamimi was arrested by Israeli troops in the middle of the night. Her only crime was resisting occupation. In fact, she committed no crime at all. Rightfully, the Palestinians say that her arrest was politically motivated, and although this is the truth, the Zionist government denies this. You will not get any true insight into the facts surrounding the unlawful arrest of Ahed Tamimi by watching Fox News, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, InfoWars, The Blaze, or any other Americanist media. The State of Israel was founded against the will of the Jewish nation. The State of Israel is based on the ideology of Zionism. It is important to remember that the country that calls itself Israel was founded against the will of the Jewish nation. Zionism is a concept that is forced on the Jewish nation. Long before the Zionists harmed any Palestinians, world Jewry spoke out against such a despotic ideology. To understand the context of the Jewish nation, one must grasp the proper historical context of a nation and nationality. To understand nation and nationality, a proper grasp of people must be understood. A people is a plurality of persons, considered as a whole, such as a religious group, an ethnic group, or a cultural group. So, what is a nation? A nation is a culture plus. This means that a people of culture and religion constitutes a nation. Likewise, a people of culture and ethnicity constitutes a nation. Not every nation has a country, nor does every nation want or need a country. For example, the French nation has a country called France. Yet, the Romani Gypsy nation is without a country. A major part of the very livelihood of the Romani Gypsy nation is that of a nomadic culture. Another source of confusion is that much of the world has forgotten the differences between territory, country, and state. Territories are locational communities founded on mutual gathering. Countries are locational communities founded on sovereign province. The sovereignty of a country can be anything from a manifesto to a sovereign leadership. Just as a nation may not have a country, not every country is nationally based. States are countries under the control of bureaucratic ownership. In other words, state is the bureaucratic estate of a country. Nation-states are despotic fusions of nation and state. In other words, nation-state is bureaucratic enslavement of a nation. For both religious and cultural reasons, the Jewish nation rejects any notion of a Jewish country. More importantly, world Jewry rejects any claims of a Jewish state. Most importantly, the Jewish nation rejects any notion of a Jewish nation-state, especially any nation-state taking the collective name of Israel. This is Abraham Weisfeld, PhD. The clip you are about to see is from a documentary called Civil Resistance. It came out in 2011, or it took place at 2011 at the village of Kufar Kadum.
One should note that in distance, down the road, next to the highway that is being blocked, are the Zionist colonies, otherwise called settlements, that present a front line of action in an offensive war against the Palestinian villagers. These villages, put into place by the Zionist movement, encroach upon the Palestinian lands, and whose members regularly take control of the various villagers' lands, olive orchards, to destroy these trees and to prevent the villagers from going to collect the harvest in the fall time of the olive trees themselves. The Western public, and the Jewish communities in particular, are led to believe that the West Bank is a peaceful region where the Palestine Authority has accepted the rule of the Zionist military occupation.
The majority of the Jewish people in North America, Canada, and the United States do not want the occupation. Israel does not speak for us. The settlers, they do not speak for us. We speak for ourselves. We, the Jewish people, say stop the occupation.
This is Rabbi David Feldman. This clip you are about to see was aired, I believe, on December 7th, 2017. Again, this is Rabbi David Feldman. The show that this is taken from is from The Bridge Show. Again, the man being interviewed here is Rabbi David Feldman.
How are you, Mr. Rabbi David Feldman?
Fine,
right?
fine.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Fine, and you?
You have an organization that's been since 1938, I believe?
Right.
Talk to me about your organization.
This organization called Neturei Karta International, this is Aramaic for the protectors of the city, referring to the holy city of Jerusalem. It's the city we are dealing today about. This was at the time of the beginning of the philosophy of Zionism, before 1948, before the creation of the State of Israel, when the Jewish religious leaders of Palestine realized that this new philosophy of Zionism is going to destroy everyone, the Jewish people living in Palestine, the Palestinian Jews, and the Palestinian the non-Jewish Palestinian inhabitants. This was obviously a danger. It was about Judaism, where the Jewish leaders at the time found that this is going to destroy the Jewish religion. Why? Because this new philosophy of Zionism was a new philosophy, a new invention amongst Jewish people to form a national homeland for Jews.
Okay, now it just so happens that Abraham Weisfeld, PhD, and Rabbi David Feldman know each other and have been in demonstrations of solidarity with each other more than once. This has everything to do with the fact that the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement recognizes basically the Neturei Karta International as the leaders of our generation. As the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement is a political organization, we therefore cannot claim leadership over the religiosity. And so we had to at some point define who among the ultra-Orthodox represents all of world Jewry as the leaders of our generation. We have concluded that it's Neturei Karta. Rabbi David Feldman is a very, very gracious man. And the conversations between him and Dr. Abraham Weisfeld have been very warm. This is a picture of the two of them in an anti-Zionist protest. December 6th, 2017. The day of disaster.
When I came into office, I promised to look at the world's challenges with open eyes and very fresh thinking. We cannot solve our problems by making the same failed assumptions and repeating the same failed strategies of the past. Old challenges demand new approaches. My announcement today marks the beginning of a new approach to conflict between Israel and the Palestinians.
Americanism is the pretext to Zionism. A lot of populists blame the Talmud for Zionism, even though out of all of the Jewish texts, the Babylonian Talmud is by far the most incompatible to Zionism. That is to say, by default, the Talmud is in total contradiction to Zionism. Indeed, the primary source for Jewish anti-Zionist sentiment is the Talmud. Bradford is the father of Americanism, and Herzl is the father of Zionism. If you need a proper context for the Talmud, this is like with Hadith for Muslims, and this is like with Catechism for Christians. Both Americanism and Zionism are rooted in Protestant Christianity. The Jewish people understand fully that the real Christians are those of the Catholic churches, the Eastern Orthodox churches, and the Oriental Orthodox churches. Likewise, the Catholic churches, the Eastern Orthodox churches, and the Oriental Orthodox churches are aware of the difference between Judaism and Christianity. Just as the Crusades and the Inquisition misrepresented Catholicism, Zionism is misrepresenting Judaism. Just as illiteracy allowed opportunists to brainwash Catholics, assimilation has allowed capitalists to brainwash the Jewish people. There is a collaboration between the Messianic Jews for Jesus, Chabad Lubavitch, Protestant Christianity, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, through the imperial powers of Americanism and Zionism. That is what this president represents. We should not be surprised.
In 1995, Congress adopted the Jerusalem Embassy Act, urging the federal government to relocate the American embassy to Jerusalem and to recognize that that city, and so importantly, is Israel's capital. This act passed Congress by an overwhelming bipartisan majority and was reaffirmed by a unanimous vote of the Senate only 6 months ago. Yet for over 20 years, every previous American president has exercised the law's waiver, refusing to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem or to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital city.
Right, so what Donald Trump has done here is a crime against three religions. I'm including Judaism in here because this doesn't serve Jewish interests, okay? In fact, this is the exact opposite of serving Jewish interests, handing over the holy city to a particular self-identified Jewish state, which, by the way, that's the oxymoron here. There is no Jewish state. Now, you may have heretics like Chabad who dress like ultra-Orthodox Jewish people, and yet they are okay with the state of Israel. But here's the big factor. Now, it will vary from person to person, but look at the ultra-Orthodox Jewish people, okay, the ultra-Orthodox. They all have payas, okay, they have those side lucks. And they, of course, always have the yarmulke on, and if you see their seats, you see them. If you don't, they don't. It depends often if you see their coat or if they've got them tucked in. But you can generally see the Orthodox dress. Many of them typically wear black hats. You know, this is a common ultra-Orthodox Jewish dress code. Chabad dresses that way too a lot, at least the leadership. But you'll notice that Chabad mostly is without payas. They usually don't have payas. This is a dead giveaway. There are also certain things traditional to ultra-Orthodox Judaism that they drop, and other things they pick up. Chabad is, and when I speak of Chabad, I mean the continuity Chabad, not the Malachim break-off, which I believe only recognizes the first 4 Rebbes. There's 7 Rebbes in Lubavitch, okay? Starting with the Alter Rebbe. And of course, you could, in continuity sense, you could trace it back to the Baal Shem Tov. But the point I'm making here is, any Jewish person who claims Judaism and also claims Zionism, or even simply sympathy for the state of Israel, is an enemy of the Jewish people, a heretic, and we cannot acknowledge them, just as we will never acknowledge the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or the Mormons as being legitimate. We have to write those lines in the sand if we expect others to do the same for us. You see, I'm going to start, and I'm going to do as best I can to start with the subject of Christianity before Islam, because what some of these viewers here who are listening to me know, and what some of these viewers listening to me do not know, is that actually we have a much better dialogue with the Muslims. We understand the Muslims better, and they understand us better than the Christians do. But, to be fair, we don't always have bad relations with the Christians. We've just had a more turbulent history with Christianity, especially from the Catholic Church. However, as the Catholic Church ironically got more and more disempowered, it was the Protestant and, as of later date, Mormons that we had issues with. No, we do not have a good history with the Protestants. We have a much more scary history when you get into it, not because they had the power to deal with us the way the Catholic Church used to wield that power, but because of the ideas they put forward and the fact that they are directly responsible. Yes, the Protestants are directly responsible for not just Americanism, but Zionism as well. In fact, Christian Zionism used to be called Restorationism, and that is largely where Jewish Zionism originated from. And that's a complex history, and that will be approached, in fact, on a different documentary. And when that is approached, just a heads up, it's not going to be a pro-Protestant statement made. There won't be pro-Mormon statements made. We are going to attack, with facts, Chabad, Lubavitch, as well as the Jews for Jesus, otherwise known as Messianic Judaism. We are going to go after these immediate threats. Yes, Protestants, Mormons, Chabad, and Chabad, Lubavitch, and the Messianic Jews for Jesus are direct threats to us, the Jewish people. And, you know, they're a direct threat to legitimate Christians as well. And so we are going to show a sign of solidarity here. On February 25th of 2018, something very interesting happened. We're talking about the year of 2018, February 25th. A certain thing that would not have happened if Israel wouldn't start taxing, as they now believe that Jerusalem really is their holy city. What Trump has done is very dangerous. In Judaism, Jerusalem is the holy city. It doesn't belong to the state or anybody. It's the holy city. Okay? The holy city of Yerushalayim, or Al-Quds in Arabic. That is the holy city. It is not the capital of the Zionist apartheid state that has the audacity to call itself Israel. And that's another thing. We disagree with the state's very name. It shouldn't be called Israel. But I'm going to now bring you to a clip here.
The chance to experience Sunday Mass at the place where they believe Christ rose from the dead draws pilgrims from around the world to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But this Sunday, the Greek Orthodox, Armenian and Catholic churches which jointly run the site announced its abrupt closure, protesting against measures which they say would constrain their rights over church property.
This reminds us all of laws of a similar nature which were enacted against the Jews during the dark periods in Europe. This systematic and unprecedented attack against Christians in the Holy Land severely violates the most basic, ab antiqua, and sovereign rights.
The church leaders say they face a twin attack. First, in the shape of a demand by Jerusalem city government for what it says is more than $180 million in back taxes. And secondly, from proposed legislation which would seize retroactively for the state church land sold to private companies. Well, Sundays in the square outside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre are always thronged with tourists and Christian pilgrims, many of whom have travelled a long way to see this most important holy site. It's always an atmosphere of emotion. Today, the chief atmosphere, though, is one of disappointment.
We believe that Jesus Christ died, and if he was buried here, we would have liked just to go there and have the historic point, the view, so that way we'd be able to understand it better.
I don't know the sides of the parties involved, but, it certainly is going to get the public attention to do this, and hopefully it drives a quicker conclusion.
The Christian Patriarchates own large areas of often prime real estate in and around Jerusalem, much of it leased to the state. Palestinians have criticized the Greek Orthodox Patriarch for selling property inside the Old City to Jewish settler groups and others. Jerusalem's municipal leaders say only properties being used for religious activities should be tax exempt, not those rented commercially. They've already frozen about $9 million in assets of the Greek Orthodox Church.
We're talking about other places that the church owns, such as hotels, and they have been exempt wrongly from paying city taxes for years and years and years. And the mayor at the moment is trying to correct a wrong that was done that affects us, Jerusalem residents, every single day.
A ministerial discussion on the bill to allow seizure of already sold church land has been postponed to next week. The author of the proposed law says it's designed to protect the rights of those living on the land from often anonymous offshore entities. Church leaders say their long-established rights are being trampled in what they call an attempt to weaken the Christian presence in Jerusalem. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, occupied East Jerusalem.
To the credit of genuine Christians, such as the members of the Catholic churches, Eastern Orthodox churches, and Oriental Orthodox churches, it is known that they grasp the differences between Judaism and Christianity. Many within the Eastern Orthodox churches and some within the Oriental Orthodox churches understand fully that there is a difference between Judaism and Zionism. With this in mind, we, the Jewish people, must be willing to work with Christians to unmask the falsehoods of the Messianic Jews for Jesus. And furthermore, we, the Jewish people, must be ever willing to express that we grasp that the Catholic Church is not at one with the Crusades or the Inquisition, as we do expect the Catholics to express to others that there is a huge difference between Judaism and Zionism, as they are catching up with the Eastern Orthodox on such matters.
Alright, the Catholic churches, Eastern Orthodox churches, Oriental Orthodox churches, and we, the Jewish people, are all under the threat of Chabad Lubavitch, Messianic Jews for Jesus, Protestant Christendom and the Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Taking down these spiritual cancers will be necessary to protect our children. Alright? Both the forces of Americanism and Zionism need to be destroyed. Yet without taking on Messianic Jews, Chabad, Mormonism, and Protestantism, the dangers of Americanism and Zionism will prevail over truth, because we failed to stand up for each other and against our heretics, who seem to at times cross over one another. That is to say, they're related. To our Catholic allies, by Protestants, I need to make clear that we, the Jewish people, are no longer concerned with neutralized Protestant churches, such as the Lutheran, Episcopalian, Calvinist, Methodist, Presbyterian, and or Quaker groups, nor Anabaptist groups such as the Amish. These are matters for the Catholic Church. It is the responsibility of the Catholic body to deal with them. Just as Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, and Reconstructionist Judaism, these are the responsibility of we at the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement, and thus those matters are not your problem. So too those old Protestants or Reformed Christians are matters of your internal problems. So I am speaking of today's Protestant scum. Not your special apostate groups, okay? We've got our own special apostate groups. Those are more of eternal problems, okay? Today's Protestant scum, non-denominationals, the evangelical fundamentalists, Baptists, and Pentecostals, they threaten us both. They need to be dealt with. They're dangerous, they're fanatical, and they have a lot to do with what's going on in society as a large whole and the undermining of the values that we teach our children. And now I return you back to the disastrous date of December 6, 2018. God help us. I meant, by the way, I meant 2017.
The record is in. After more than 2 decades of waivers, we are no closer to a lasting peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians.
Isn't it interesting? I find it so interesting that he says the Palestinians, but not Palestine. He doesn't say the Israelis, but he says Israel. So what he's doing, in essence, is acknowledging the sovereignty of the apartheid Zionist state of Israel and ignoring the existence of the indigenous, rightful sovereignty of Palestine. That is incredible. And he says that we are no closer to a peace agreement. Well. And whose fault is that? America is by far the worst country that could have ever been involved in the Palestine-Israel peace negotiations. Although it is true that it was the British government that ensured Zionist power in Palestine, British power has tried to be more even-handed. Yet you can never be even-handed when the subject is oppressed versus oppressor. And of course, America has a pro-Zionist bias. America is not truly based on the Bill of Rights or anything constitutional. America is based on Americanism. A colonial occupation by Puritans. After the American Revolutionary War, the result was the United States of America, a republic of 13 states. After the American Civil War, the ideology of Americanism further developed. The United States of America became a nation-state with many interstates. By 1912, the United States of America had 48 interstates. With Hawaii and Alaska included, this would conclude to 50 interstates. That was later down the road. Under the regime of Trump's friend, Bill Clinton, and yes, they are friends, the United States of America negotiated between Palestine and Israel. The Palestinians kept these accords, while the Israelis ignored them. The parallels between America and Israel are truly transparent at this point. America has never kept a single treaty with the indigenous natives, and Israel has never kept a single treaty with the indigenous Palestinians. The Oslo con job has done its job well. The land grab has been such a Zionist success that America can peel off the mask and empower its little sibling. And yes, several Americanists, many Americanists, self-identify as Americanists. I now bring you a news clip from February 13th of 2018.
The trial of a Palestinian female teenager charged with hitting 2 Israeli soldiers has begun behind closed doors at a military court. 17-year-old Ahad Tamimi, who has been in jail for nearly 2 months, attended the court alone after the Israeli army judge ordered reporters to leave the room. Tamimi was arrested in December during a pre-dawn raid on her home in the occupied West Bank. The arrest came after footage of her slapping fully armed Israeli soldiers became viral. Her detention, which was followed by the arrest of her mother and cousin, prompted protests in the occupied territories. All right, I believe we're now joined from Ramallah by Fatma Abdul Karim, who is Press TV's correspondent. Fatma, tell us about why this judge has ordered this trial to be held behind closed doors. Why isn't this being held in open?
This trial was indeed held behind closed doors an hour after Ahad Tamimi walked into the room. She was seen in great spirit. When the military judge asked media representatives to leave the room, her lawyer objected, but he said this is for the benefit of the minor, which was undermined by several Palestinian advocates, lawyers, activists, and even her family who wanted to be there. So media and cameras left the room, and moments ago, only a few minutes ago, the decision to extend the detention of Ahad Tamimi's incarceration in Israeli jails was pronounced by the judge. Her detention is extended for 26 days, that is until March 11th.
All right, so Fatma, now that we know that there has been this extension, what is the next step now in this case? Where does her case go next?
Another hearing will be set up for at least Ahad Tamimi. We are not sure yet about her mother, Nariman, who is still in the courtroom right now as we speak, waiting the verdict or the military judge's decision regarding her case. Another hearing will be set up on March 11th unless her lawyers, Ahad Tamimi's lawyers, request a change in that. So we are expecting, as we've heard from her lawyers and her family, an extended trial for this teenager, which has already drawn wide international attention.
Very well, Fatma, we'll leave there at that, but of course we appreciate your reporting for us.
Wow, okay, now let's just get back to the man who can trump all justice.
It would be folly to assume that repeating the exact same formula would now produce a different or better result.
Yeah, except that what you are doing right here is much, much worse. So, it is a different result, and it's worse.
Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering. I've judged this course of action to be in the best interests of the United States of America and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
There is no peace without justice. And what you have just done here, you've just created a freaking storm of Judeophobia. Judeophobia is rampant right now because of what you've done. People who don't understand the concept of the state of Israel versus Judaism and the adherents, those adhere to Judaism, people who don't know the difference between Judaism and Zionism, the difference between the state of Israel and the Jewish people, we're getting blamed for this. You just declared war on the Jewish people. It's on, dude. It's on. You anti-Semite. You... You just... If you make it treasonous for us to follow our religion, you do not understand the doors you've opened.
This is a long overdue step to advance the peace process and to work towards a lasting agreement. Israel is a sovereign nation.
Wrong again! You are wrong again. Israel has no sovereignty, and neither does America. You have destroyed permanently. It wouldn't even matter if an American president tried to undo what you've done. This is why the whole world hates America. Because it's obvious, it's capitalism on steroids, and America, you want to be a proxy. America and Israel are best friends because they will stab everybody in the back, including themselves. Yes, America and Israel will stab each other in the back, and they'll love each other for it.
There will, of course, be disagreement and dissent regarding this announcement.
Yeah, and guess what? The highest level of dissent comes from us, the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation is not based on race or ethnicity. It's not ethnic, it's not racial, it's based solely on a cultural religion. There are other nations that are based on cultural religions, and most of those nations don't have a country, nor would they need one. Why is it that everybody always tries to determine what should happen to us, except us? And when people drop out of Judaism and create some crazy cults, someone uplifts that cult. It's no different if you handed nuclear bombs to the despotic Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a entire organization that was based on slandering the Native Americans, basically. And yes, that's what Mormonism is. So why are... I don't have to ask why. Because America has never been on God's side. You're not dealing with the rim hat Satmar guys who are going to be loyal to whatever country that they're in. We will be loyal to whatever country we're in until it tries to destroy us. We are Bundists. Okay? Let's understand that. And unlike the Zionists, we don't seek to create a country and oppress people. See, we're the opposite. We want liberation for all peoples. You've just handed us the keys to your imprisonment, America. You just handed it to us. And by the way, we have not been kicked out of every country, as a lot of people think. No, we were kicked out of certain Western countries, Western Christian countries to be precise. We've never been kicked out of a Muslim land, ever. gotta get past these nonsensical Protestant myths that have nothing. They're neither based in myth or reality, but based solely in lies and fictional lies that are completely absurd. And you are empowering yourself by gaining the favor of such people. Such people will not remain in the majority as the disillusionment of those children wake up to the fundamentalist nonsense of their parents. And Chabad, by the way, is decreasing in membership. So we've always had Chabad people running around in the White House. Well, their membership is dwindling for a reason. Sherston was not the Messiah. Those guys in Lubavitch, they should just convert to the Christian religion and get it over with, because they're not Jewish. And we can't excommunicate people. Just so we're clear. Alright, so I'm going to direct this now to a real clip. This was how the Palestinians responded. This is what you're going to see. This took place on December 15th of 2017. Again, December 15th of 2017. This was filmed by a French journalist who, by the way, knows Dr. Abraham Weisfeld. This French journalist, and I'm going to try really hard not to botch her name, Dunya. Hold on a second. Let me try again. Dunya. Okay. That's spelled, by the way, Dounia. Again, Dounia. She's a French journalist. She has some amazing photographs and some amazing film. I want you to see this clip. The uprising you're seeing is just people fighting back for their rights. Look at what the Zionist military actually does. Look at... But by the way, I think another interesting parallel between Americanism and Zionism, between America and Israel, would be that if you look closely at the police in the United States of America, they're largely militarized. Sometimes, and this is very funny, in the state of Israel, it's often very difficult to distinguish between the military and the police. Police state. Yeah, that's right, police state. The United States of America is a police state, and the state of Israel is a police state. I would say when it comes to human rights abuses, the state of Israel is actually worse than the United States of America, but when it comes to brutal intelligence and provocateuring, I would then say that the United States of America is worse. Really, at the end of the day, you know, this debate as to whether America is worse or whether Israel is worse it's just nonsense. They're both the same. They're the same. They're identical. Now, from the Jewish religious point of view, Israel would be worse because Zionism flies in the face against Judaism. But you have to remember, the Bundist movement seeks to defend Jewish values. The Bundist movement seeks to defend the cultural and religious positions of Judaism. So, Judaism being a cultural religion, you'll have different levels of observance, you know, those who are fully Orthodox and those who are barely practicing all, such as Reform Judaism. Nonetheless, that's all Jewish. You know, we don't necessarily believe that our apostates, that being Reconstructionists, conservative, and Reform, and maybe apostate is not the nicest word to use. They're just less observant, okay? But they're Jewish. That's Judaism, alright? If they oppose Zionism and acknowledge what the Jewish nation actually is and throw away the nationalist lie of nation-state and understand what a people nation is, which is the reality of a nation as a people nation, and yes, a people nation might have a country, but take Russia. Russia's a country with many people nations in it. Stalin pointed this out, by the way. Joseph Stalin pointed this out. It's irrelevant whether you like Stalin or not. That's a whole different category that we will tackle. I don't know when, but we're going to have to tackle it, especially because we now have Marxist-Leninist allies, and we don't always agree with them, but we know where the common ground is, and one of them is that we appreciate what Stalin wrote about the national question, because he pointed out a lot of things that were true. If only he would have understood the Bundists actually fit his understanding quite well, but unfortunately he was just too loyal to Vladimir Lenin, and they didn't understand the importance of the Jewish labor Bund. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I digress a bit too much. This film you're about to see from Dunya came out on December. This came out December 15th, 2017. I believe, in fact, it was December 15th, 2017 that this film occurred, that the events you're about to see. This is the Palestinian response. And look at the brutality you're going to see from the Zionists, from those who serve the apartheid Zionist state of Israel, which, by the way, has no right to call itself Israel. As Israel is collectively all the Jewish people, and the Kingdom of Israel, either you believe it existed or it didn't exist. Either way, that doesn't exist now. Because if it's just a myth, well, then it's a story, and that discredits the state of Israel. And even if it's not a myth, God got rid of the Kingdom of Israel. Okay? That's what Scripture says. So, either way you cut it, there's just no excuse. Okay? No excuse for the existence of the state of Israel. Everybody wants to say, well, religion is man-made. That's a matter of debate, honestly, and that's more of a philosophical debate, and that is not the concern of the Bundists to make such debates, by the way. But I will point this out. The state of Israel really is man-made, people, and it's not even the best from humanity. It's one of the worst signs of nationalism the world has ever seen. It is the only thing that can be aligned with Americanism, and Americanism, the world doesn't want to see it anymore, okay? We are going to bring forth a popular world court, okay? The United Nations is bankrupt. It needs to be replaced. The League of Nations failed. The United Nations was somewhat of an improvement, but there's something better. We can have a world constituent assembly, and I will charge politicians myself in a popular court. I will be the accuser. Okay? America manufactures, its intelligence manufactures conspiracy theories all the time. And mind you, yes, some of the conspiracy theories are true, but most of them are manufactured because they spend so much money to make you scared of them. The United States of America wants everybody to be terrified of them. And when they can't get people to buy it, they get people to be scared of the United Nations. The powerless United Nations. You can criticize Gaddafi, he made mistakes, but the Green Book was awesome, and I'll tell you what, when he ripped up the UN Charter, he was right. Nobody takes it seriously. But maybe it will have to take itself seriously. But to do that, they're going to have to excommunicate the United States of America. Russia may not be the best country in the world for most people. Well, to me, it is kind of the best country in the world as I've seen it before. But it's not a perfect country because there's no such thing as a perfect country, all right? But many of us are just openly stating the post-Soviet viewpoints that we hold that, yeah, Russia's the Statue of Liberty now. It has been. That's the Queen of Exiles today. That's the people who represent justice and freedom in the world. Despite whatever Americans are brainwashed, because like Israelis, Americans are brainwashed. Israelis may be more brainwashed, that's true, but Americanists, you know, they don't play by the same tactics all the time as Zionists because it's a difference in region, you know. Oppressing Palestinians and oppressing Native Americans, which, by the way, Mexicans are included in the Native Americans. The Mexicans are Native American. In fact, the way that the parallels to this, I could go on and on. I digress. This film came out on December 15th, 2017. It was filmed, I believe, at that date, actually. December 15th, 2017, by the French journalist Dunya, who right now, as I speak to you, is in the West Bank. Here it is.
You see it?
Yes.
يلا ارجع ورا ارجع ورا ارجع توقفوا هنا. صديقي شو يا لازم نتحرك هسه الضرب من جوا انحشرنا. ورانا الجيش ورانا. يلا تضيعوا خطيتها. سحبوا الكلاب. خلينا نقرب. سحبوا الكلاب. لا فيش. استفردوا فيا هذول الخمسه هذول هاي الكتير فوق استفردوا فيا فوق لحالي. باسل. شاهر. ولو. زيه. قدم بقول لك قدم. مهدي بكر بقول لك قدم. مهدي تعال فيكم ارجعوا. شباب بس دير بالكم من الحجار ماشي. يلا خروف.
Zalon here is dangerous for him.
اسمع هنا بيكسر السيارة. أنا بطلع على Take care from them.
Yes.
هون أمان.
And so, it's just amazing what goes on over there. I mean, how long can this last? Really? I return you again to he who trumps justice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Donald Trump, shame on you. Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. The state of Israel, on the other hand, has no right to exist. Jerusalem is a holy place, sacred to 3 religions. The Tanakh is the Jewish Bible. The Quran is the Muslim Bible. Yet in Islam, one must understand the Hadith in order to understand the Quran. Likewise, in Judaism, one must understand the Talmud in order to understand the Tanakh. The Talmud is against Zionism and the State of Israel, because the Talmud forbids the ending of Jewish exile. Ummah is a collective term for all the world's Muslims. Church is a collective term for all the world's Christians. Israel is a collective term for all of world Jewry. Church is not a building according to the Bible of Christianity. In fact, what people often refer to as church in the context of a religious building is actually more correctly referred to as a parish. In fact, if you dig deep into the context of both the Christian Bible and Catechism, this is evident. Muslims go to mosque on Friday, Christians go to parish on Sunday, Jewish people go to synagogue on Shabbos. For the Christians, there shall be massive problems as long as a parish can be confused with the word church. For the Jewish people, there shall be massive problems as long as the word Israel can be confused for a country. The very word Israel is a collective term for world Jewry. The most important texts in Judaism are the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Each of the 5 books of Moses are divided into parshas. Each parsha is a section of the 5 books of Moses used in Jewish liturgy during a single week. The weekly parsha is chanted publicly by a designated reader in Jewish prayer services, starting with a partial reading on the afternoon of Shabbos, then again during the Monday and Thursday morning services, ending with a full reading during the following Shabbos morning services. The reference told of in Judaism to that of the Promised Land are more of a symbolic nature, as opposed to that of a literal nature. In fact, even those whom take the Jewish scriptures more literally always reference the Promised Land in a more symbolic context. Because the central theme in Judaism is of the wandering refugees from Egypt, whom make a religious covenant with the Almighty Creator on a mountain in the barren desert. According to the scriptures of Judaism, the kingdom of Israel was not ruled by monarch kings, but rather the kingdom of Israel was led by theocratic kings who had to answer to the prophets of the Almighty Creator. We at the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement would like to collectively apologize to all of the members of ultra-Orthodox Jewry. It is our position that both the Bundists and the ultra-Orthodox lacked any type of genuine communication in the time of the old Jewish labor Bund. Any and all Bundists who disagree with our position on building new relations with ultra-Orthodox Jewry cannot possibly represent Bundism. The Bundist movement takes a controversial stance because it is correct to do so. We of the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement declare Neturei Karta International to be the leaders of our generation. This is not an attack on Satmar. We acknowledge that Satmar and all other Jewry of the ultra-Orthodox sects that join in with the Torah True organized Jewry are inherently 100% kosher. Rather, we find Satmar to be incapable of carrying on the wisdom of the sages. We of the Jewish Bundist diaspora movement recognize the Catholic churches, Eastern Orthodox churches, and Oriental Orthodox churches embody authentically to the context of Christianity. The memory of Chabad Lubavitch is not to be attacked, yet the result of Menachem Mendel Schneerson's legacy has produced a new Chabad. As of now, Chabad is not Jewish. Furthermore, Rebbe Schneerson was not the Messiah. The Bundist movement rejects Protestant Christian restorationism in all of its manifestations, regardless if it's Pentecostal, Baptist, non-denominational, evangelical fundamentalist, Seventh-day Adventist, chiefly the Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the Messianic Jews for Jesus, due to the fact that Messianic Judaism is slander, and Mormonism is Americanism made into a spiritual creed. Claiming this to be a sectarian move on our part is like telling someone that rejection of fascism is somehow sectarian. The Bundist movement does not discriminate against Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, or Reconstructionist Judaism, as a matter for Orthodox Jewry to settle as an internal problem. Likewise, the Bundist movement does not discriminate against original Protestant Christians such as Lutheran, Episcopalian, Calvinist, Presbyterian, Methodist, Anglican, the Quaker groups, or Anabaptist groups like the Mennonites, as these matters are internal problems for the Catholics to settle as an internal problem. Rabbi Yisrael David Weiss is a member of Neturei Karta, as is Rabbi David Feldman. This is Rabbi Yisrael David Weiss of Neturei Karta giving his response to the disastrous decision made by Donald Trump.
Jews lived with Muslims and Christians in Palestine for hundreds of years. History is to be respected. History teaches us. Wise men look at history. History tells us that we didn't need any human rights groups to protect us. We stood Christians. We babysat each other's children daily. Our most precious object we gave. How is that possible? Because this is not a religious conflict. This has nothing to do with the difference of religion. This is a Zionist vile propaganda. Zionism has the audacity to accuse the Muslims of hating Jews. How dare you? How dare you sully the name of Jews by accusing Muslims of hating us when they provided a safe haven for hundreds of years by the Inquisition, by the Crusades, and by World War II. How dare they speak in our name? How dare they sully the name of the people that embraced us and helped us? We will not accept it. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. It is ungodly.
I would now like to turn your attention to a video that came out on December 2017. Again, this is Rabbi David Feldman.
Okay, it's already for decades that we are so upset with this entire occupation of Palestine. It is against Judaism. Jews are forbidden to have their own state. We are forbidden to oppress the people, to occupy another people, kill and steal, and all what is happening in Palestine. But now when we're talking about Jerusalem being the capital of the state of Israel, this is so sad when we find that this occupation is taking another step forward, which is truly very sad. What we say about President Trump, we understand where he comes from. He might have sympathy to the Jewish people, which is appreciated. But unfortunately, this is not the favor of the Jewish people. This is not the favor of anyone in the region. Sadly, unfortunately, for decades, we are experiencing this conflict, this fight. Why? Just because of this occupation. We lived in peace. Jews, Muslims, Christians in Palestine and so many other Muslim countries. All of what we've experienced today, all this conflict, all this bloodshed, is because of this occupation. It's because of the expansion of this occupation while time is going past. It started with 1948, 1967. Recently we have this settlement expansion. Now we are talking about inciting Palestinians with having Jerusalem the capital of Israel. No, as Jewish people, we have to reiterate what Jewish leaders said in Jerusalem, in Palestine, in the beginning of the state of Israel. In 1947, Chief Rabbi of Palestine at the time, Rabbi Dushinsky, sent a letter to the United Nations saying that we furthermore express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. This request was not accepted by the United Nations. Later on, a couple of months later, he wrote another telegram to the United Nations. At least leave Jerusalem independent. Leave it. It shouldn't be part of the state of Israel. We don't need a state of Israel to protect us. We don't need a state of Israel to endanger all peoples in the region.
It is illogical for Jewish people to be Islamophobic. Anti-Semitism is both Judeophobia and Islamophobia. Jihad means struggle, and there are many forms of jihad. Zionism is not Jewish. Zionism is an anti-Semitic crusade waged on Islam, Eastern Christianity, Judaism, and Palestine. Zionism is modeled after Americanism. Americanism is a form of spirituality that has its roots in the founding of Plymouth Colony and the events of Manifest Destiny. Americanism should not be confused with constitutionalism. Donald Trump is clearly the first openly Americanist president, and this explains much of his policies.